Sharing with us next will be Jess Smeall. Jess Smeall is an artist and community leader living in Tacoma, Washington, and is proud of her heritage as a fourth-generation Tacoman. Her art focuses on songwriting, polymer clay, and creating intentional events for humans. She worked for the YMCA in local government and program development for 2 decades, and is now focusing her community work with PBS kids. Her songwriting has evolved from love ballads to rhythmic campfire rounds. Her life has been defined over the last decade by her father's journey, by her journey with her father's Alzheimer's, and the truth of music as the best way to reach him and to heal. Please welcome Jess Smeall.
I would love to be on video if the host can start that for me. Hi. Prologue. The father in this story is John Thomas Smeall, a champion of the heart, spirit, and body who lived on Earth from April 1950 to April 2019. We also call him Handsome John or Gentle Giant. The daughter in this story is me. Our story begins at step 1, when the father calls the daughter to tell her, "Good news," he says. "I know how I'm going to die. I have Alzheimer's, so I will just sit in front of the TV for many years. My brain will forget things, and that is how I will go." What relief. The daughter, in her shock, agrees. Later, she researches how a body dies from Alzheimer's. Her findings are different from her father's vision. She finds that this upcoming dementia disease does not and cannot kill a body. The consequences of a broken brain do. Traumatic falls and choking to death seem to be the most real, and the daughter's heart sinks into despair. Her own brain produces wild and scary ideas. The mother begins to pray. And the father said, "Good news." And the daughter said, "Bad news." And the mother said, "Who can say?" Step 2. The mother and the father were still under the age of retirement when the diagnosis came. The father's brain could no longer handle employment, so he began a life at home while the mother went to work. They vacationed to their favorite places. Orcas Island and Hawaii were loved the most. The father enjoyed taking care of the home. He watered the plants, cleaned up after the trees, played with his dog, and enjoyed sports on TV. They rested in the ease of the beginning of the story. The father became increasingly blind and began a hobby of books on tape. The daughter helped him find books, pleased that he could still follow a story. The father was calm and funny, but the mother's stress over what was to come was felt by the daughter. She had never been skilled at easing her mother's stress. And the father said, "Good news." And the mother said, "Bad news." And the daughter said, "Who can say?" Step 3. Many years pass and the father's brain continues to lose connection with his body. At a camping trip in 2016, he is chasing a child and falls, breaking his hip, scarring and scaring the child with his anger. The mother brings him to the hospital where surgery is needed. It is in these days that the mother and the daughter understand the danger of the hospital. At one point, as his hip was still healing, the father runs down the rehab center hallway in the middle of the night, and the police are called. He does cheer up with a visit from his grandchild, and the daughter is able to help, and the experience brings them all closer together. The daughter begins to visit more regularly and takes on the responsibility of his fingernails, which ensures regular connections. The father does not enjoy the wheelchair and learns to walk again. He still listens to books and sports, plays with his dog, and he begins to talk to the trees while he collects their pine cones. And the daughter said, "Good news." And the father said, "Bad news." And the mother said, "Who can say?" Step 4. 2 years later, the father develops a pain in his head and leaves the trees again for the hospital. His anger and frustration run this show, and armed guards restrain him for constant sedation. This pain is caused by an infected sinus passage, an old injury come to say hello again. The father is constantly confused, and his confusion is expressed with hard anger. His blindness is now complete and leads to more confusion and anger. It is not safe for the grandchild to visit. The mother brings the dog to visit. The dog brings the father so much joy, she realizes the father needs to be at home. It's a risky choice to the doctors, but the mother chooses outpatient surgery and also hires a companion for the father, a lovely woman, and this solves her problems. The trees welcome him home. The daughter hears a message strong and clear from the trees. If he leaves us again, he will never return, and he cannot live without us. The daughter listens, even though this is not a message she enjoys. In fact, it is the saddest message the trees have ever shared. And the mother said, "Good news." And the daughter said, "Bad news." And the father said, "Who can say?" Step 5. 1 year later, the trees of the father and mother's forest are choking. The daughter listens to their complaints and asks the mother, "Why is the ivy so out of control?" The trees are pissed. "Because your dad always took care of it." The daughter offers her assistance, but the mother decides to handle it herself, cutting the ivy at the base of each tree. She sprains her ankle on the 3rd tree. An ivy removal specialist is hired, and the ivy begins to die, and the trees stop complaining. They begin to sing a love song whenever the daughter arrives to remind her of her purpose. The song is beautiful, but it is also a continued and deep warning that the father's last protected place is this forest and this home. The father can no longer water the plants, but he still enjoys sports and pretending he can follow a book. His dog passes away, and his walks are limited to up and down the driveway. And the trees said, "Good news." And the mother said, "Bad news." And the daughter said, "Who can say?" Step 6. After over a decade of the father's broken brain, the mother decides to take a well-deserved vacation to Hawaii with the son and the grandchildren. The week before she leaves, the father throws punches at the lovely companion after escaping the forest. The police intervene, and the companion is told to never return. The mother hires a caregiving company for 24 hours a day, and the doctor will visit every day. When the mother leaves for Hawaii, the father is still rocked to the core of his broken brain. He cries out for the mother incessantly, believing she has left him. His despair is palpable and turns to rage, scaring away many of the paid caregivers. The daughter and her husband move into the forest home for the last few days. In the worst moments, the father will fall to the ground, unable to stand up, believing the ground is the wall and the house is attacking him. The daughter is thankful for strong and kind neighbors and one of the caregivers who chooses to love her father despite his constant outbursts. Together, the daughter, the husband, and the beautiful caregiver listen to his stories. He speaks of racing and selling a hydroplane, a father who gave his heart to a hospital, a mother who didn't like to work too much, and being accident prone. He knew every detail of the gasoline mistake made when the daughter was 3, always reminding his audience, "Don't get burned." His audience listens with love, despite his strained vocabulary and pauses and loops never socially acceptable. The stories he tells keeps the anger at bay. The mother returns and the father is happy. The beautiful caregiver is hired full-time. The trees are proud of the daughter for keeping the father at his home in the forest. And the mother said, good news. And the daughter said, bad news. And the father said, can say who. Step 7, the last step. 1 month later, the daughter sings the father a song she wrote. It inspires him and he constantly requests more music. But this story is running out of time. The daughter gives the father his last manicure and hugs him for the last time. The father insists his hugs bring special superpowers. He holds on strong. The mother is with the beautiful caregiver the day he falls to the ground, once again confusing the floor with the walls, and they cannot raise him. They call the daughter to tell her an ambulance is coming to pick him up. The daughter knows this will kill him. It takes 3 hospitals in 1 week, but he passes from his body at the same hospital his own father served at and his grandfather founded. A smart doctor determined it was a blood clot, formed 1 month before, and removed what was left of his brain. The mother and the daughter decide to be thankful because his constant request has been to please leave his body. The daughter found one last moment in a dark hospital to sing him their song one last time and kiss his head. She knew Alzheimer's wouldn't kill him. She was correct. He is alive in her songs. And the mother said, good news. And the daughter said, good news. And the trees said, who